news. Ken Urker left Gypsy Rose Blanchard. He's done. So it's happened over a course of some days, and apparently it's being filmed. But he said he was tired of defending her. He was tired of standing up for her. He was tired of doing so much, and she constantly embarrasses him. He was absolutely done with the situation, and their relationship is over. Now, doesn't it make sense as to why she said she's no longer posting her personal information on social? She wants to keep it private. Yo, chill. Jip is single, Bookie. She probably trying to get with Ryan right now. Ryan, don't you fall for that. Don't you fall for that. You better not fall for that, Ryan. You better be clapping butt cheeks. Keep clapping them cheeks. You better be at a cookout right now partying. You saw what you reaped, Gypsy. You thought you was leaving your husband for him, and he left you. When I say karma for you is who you end up with. Cardi B ain't never lied, Bookie. Ain't never lied. Gypsy, how does it feel for the man you chose not to choose you, Bookie? How does it feel, darling? How does it feel?
Okay, so I just got home from work, and Gyps surprised me with her famous spaghetti here. This is the first time she's ever cooked for me, so I'm excited to try her cooking.
Off social media that it was because they broke up and she did not want this to go public. And those of us who are perceptive saw this coming from a mile away because we could see every time Ken was on camera how miserable he looked with Gypsy. And this really explains why she gave him that promise ring at Nobu, because she felt Ken pulling away and she was trying so hard to trap this man. And like I said months ago, pregnancy and marriage will not trap him. This also just confirms that Ken was only in it for the money and fame, like I said, because this man already broke up with Gypsy and only got back together with her once she was rich and famous and no longer in prison. But I knew that Gypsy's crazy would be way too much for him to handle, and he could only do it for so long. And I have a feeling once that baby's born, she is going to absolutely lose her mind.
Gypsy Rose is selling a story. But what exactly is that story? From the clips we've seen on TikTok and interviews she's done, the book promises to revisit her mother's alleged abuse, her relationship with Nicholas, and the events that led to her mother's death. Gypsy claims she's sharing her truth. She's turning her pain into purpose, or at least that's how she wants to spin it. But let's not forget the foundation of this story. Lies. Lies about her childhood, lies about her role in the murder, lies about her relationship with Nicholas. And the worst part, this isn't just Gypsy painting herself as a victim. It's Gypsy profiting off a tragedy that she orchestrated. She's using the very events she manipulated Nicholas into committing as a backdrop for her success.
I really just want them to read this memoir and realize that it doesn't matter what you have been through in your life. There is a light at the end of the tunnel, and that good things still can happen for you regardless of the horrors that you may have experienced in your life, because I think everyone relates to trauma in some form or fashion.
And while Gypsy is capitalizing on the story, Nicholas is rotting in a prison cell, still struggling to process how he was deceived. Let's start connecting the dots. Who is the real Gypsy Rose? And how does her book distort the truth? Nicholas Godijon, a man with Asperger's syndrome, has often been reduced to a footnote in Gypsy Rose Blanchard's story, a mere accomplice in her grand narrative. However, his role is far more complex and deserves deeper scrutiny. The evidence paints a picture of a vulnerable man manipulated into committing an irreversible act, blinded by his feelings for Gypsy and his belief that he was rescuing her from a life of abuse. From the start, Nicholas was drawn into Gypsy's world through her carefully crafted persona. The two met on a Christian dating site, and their relationship quickly transitioned to Facebook, where Gypsy began weaving a narrative designed to hook Nicholas emotionally. Nicholas described how their bond intensified almost immediately. I went from just trying to get to know her on the site to being willing to pretty much open myself up like a full open book.
Let everyone know what I truly feel. I just know that she knows. She knows that I've taken the responsibility for mine already. I still have feelings for her. Of course, I will always have feelings for her.
This wasn't by chance. Gypsy played into Nicholas's emotional and social vulnerabilities, creating a bond that he believed was authentic and reciprocated. Yet, as Nicholas later realized, the relationship was built on lies and manipulation. He said, "As of late, I've learned that she may have just been using me, which is sad because I felt it was much more real than that at that time."
Because of that master of manipulation that she is able to do, she had no problems manipulating me into the situation. I wish I would have known it was more manipulation than love, because if I would have known that, I probably wouldn't have been in the situation I'm in, and I probably wouldn't be sitting here having this conversation. But yeah, the only regret I have is basically not seeing the signs that stuff was not in a good light to unfold. That's basically what I have mainly regrets of. The only thing I don't regret is getting her out of that situation. I regret, however, the way that I had to get her out of the situation, but I don't regret getting her out of it. If I would have been able to run away with her, I wouldn't have any regrets at all.
This wasn't the first time Gypsy had tried to involve someone else in her life's chaos. Nicholas revealed that Gypsy had previously attempted to kill her mother but backed out. She warned me that she had tried twice. She said the only way was to kill her mother. Gypsy knew Nicholas's weaknesses and exploited them. His love and loyalty were twisted into tools she used to orchestrate the murder of her mother. Nicholas believed he was her savior, someone who could rescue her from what she described as unbearable abuse. He admitted she needed someone to understand her enough to be willing to basically risk their life for her.
I did feel as if Gypsy was going through trauma, whether it was the abuse with medication or the abuse of being forced to be staying in a chair, or even the abuse of her being stuck in a room for so long because her mom would be doing things in a physical abusive way, like chaining her to a bed, or even other physical abuse, like her being beaten with really anything her mom could find. And all this stuff I felt shouldn't transpire. I felt like as if, unfortunately, I didn't think anyone would come to her call. And if she tried to go to the police, they would have, due to the way that her mom was making her betray to look as, she would have basically looked as like a lunatic that no one would believe due to what her mom would be putting in everyone else's head. So she felt like it was an unescapable path upon it, and she needed someone to understand her enough to be willing to basically risk their life for her, which is unfortunate that that had to go the way it did.
Gypsy's manipulation extended beyond emotional appeals. She created multiple alter egos to align with Nicholas's fantasies, deepening his attachment and sense of purpose in her life. Nicholas explained, "She created these perfect personalities that would attract me to her and keep her basically to where she didn't have to worry about me being disinterested at some point." Among these personas was Ruby, who Gypsy described as her evil side. Gypsy used Ruby to normalize the idea of violence and justify the murder plan, presenting it as something inevitable.
She's always been telling me all the times that she was video visiting me up in Wisconsin that she's strong like I am and I can handle this and I'll be fine, and she basically was giving me the support I never had throughout almost my entire life. That emotional support I never thought I'd ever receive from her. So, yeah.
She used her words and actions to create an environment where Nicholas felt like he had no choice but to go along with her plan. Nicholas's love for Gypsy wasn't just blind, it was manipulated at every turn. He revealed that Gypsy convinced him of the necessity of the crime by portraying her life as a hopeless and abusive. Her accounts of Didi's behavior were so extreme that Nicholas believed her death was the only way out.
Unfortunate, because that's the way that she was brought up. She was brought up to lie and lie and lie and lie and lie. She was brought up to basically play the victim role. That's the way she was brought up. She's only doing what she was taught. Believe me, she was brought up in a much more better environment, much more better people around her. Not just her mom, I was around her. I was pretty much holding her down for who she could really be. I can almost guarantee she would have never asked me that dreadful question. It's a severely unfortunate situation, because even now, even after she basically is admitting to everyone in the media that she was basically using me to get rid of her mother, which is very, very, very not only evil thing to even admit right on national television, which I still to this day, well, I kind of wish you would have admitted earlier, because, well, I was mainly the one person who was trying to make her a better person while her mom was trying to keep her the way that she was.
She kept on persisting on this alternative thing that really didn't seem to pan out. I wanted to run away with her, but she kept pushing for the murder. Gypsy didn't just push for the murder. She planned it meticulously and relied on Nicholas to execute her vision. She stole the knife used in the crime and paid for Nicholas's travel to Springfield with money stolen from her mother. Even during the murder itself, Gypsy maintained control, instructing Nicholas to knock and scratch on the bathroom door as a signal that the deed was done. Nicholas explained the code they agreed upon. There was a code that we settled on to use. Gypsy's manipulation wasn't limited to the murder itself. She shaped Nicholas's understanding of the world around him, playing into his gullibility and trusting nature. Nicholas reflected on this, saying, "Unfortunately, I've been gullible almost all my life. It's something I've been trying to overcome, but it's a slow process." Gypsy took advantage of Nicholas's Asperger's syndrome, knowing that this condition made him more susceptible to her influence. His cognitive and emotional challenges, combined with her carefully calculated manipulation, created a perfect storm. Due to one of my main mental disabilities, it's quite easy for me to be deceived, unfortunately. What's most tragic is that Nicholas truly believed he was helping Gypsy. He thought he was protecting her, offering her a chance at freedom. But in reality, he was being used as a pawn in her plan. If I had known it was more manipulation than love, I wouldn't have been in this situation I'm in.
Because of that master of manipulation that she is able to do, she had no problems manipulating me into the situation. I wish I would have known it was more manipulation than love, because if I would have known that, I probably wouldn't have been in the situation I'm in, and I probably wouldn't be sitting here having this conversation. But yeah.
Nicholas's life is now defined by the crime he was manipulated into committing. He is serving a life sentence with no chance of parole, while Gypsy walks free, promoting her book and enjoying the media attention. In one of his most heart-wrenching reflections, Nicholas said, "If we had both gotten 15 years, I would have felt it was fair. But she walked free, and I'm still here."
That's the thing with me, is that I feel, has actually, it's sad, it's so sad. She, yes, maybe about the same amount I was maybe trying to attend to get. I'm still trying to get 15, and that's where I still stand. I'm still trying to get that. I would have been happy if me and her would have gotten the same exact amount of time. I'm not one of those people where I'm going to be trying to wish her a life sentence or any crap like that, like she did to me. I'm not a conniving person like that. It's just not in my blood. It's not in my genetics. It's not who I am. That's part of the reason why when she does what she does, I can't blame her. I can only understand that that's the way she was brought up. But me personally, if we would have both gotten 15, I would have felt it was fair. Since she's gotten 10 and I'm still trying to at least get 15, really, yeah, exactly. It's a pretty hard road to get to that point, but God willing, it should for sure happen.
Nicolas Godijon's story is one of heartbreak and betrayal. His devotion to Gypsy led him down a path he could never escape, and now he pays the ultimate price while Gypsy profits from the very crime she convinced him to commit. This isn't just a story of love gone wrong. It's a cautionary tale about the devastating impact of manipulation and the need for justice to consider all sides of the story. Nicholas wasn't just an accomplice, he was a victim too. At the heart of Gypsy Rose Blanchard and Nicolas Godijon's toxic relationship was an elaborate wave of lies and fantasies, carefully curated by Gypsy to manipulate Nick and maintain her control over him. Role-playing was not merely a pastime for the two. It became a tool for Gypsy to weave a narrative that blurred the lines between reality and fantasy, ultimately steering Nick into committing a heinous act. Gypsy's creative fabrication of alter egos was one of the first signs of the performative nature of their relationship. During her testimony, Gypsy admitted to creating multiple personas, each tailored to complement Nick's dark fantasies. She confessed, "I made them up because he told me he had various alter egos. These characters were not superficial. They had names, personalities, and even specific traits. Gypsy's most notable alter ego included Ruby, who she described as her evil side, and Demona, a half-human, half-werewolf persona. These characters allowed Gypsy to indulge Nick's fantasy-driven world. Her willingness to adapt these personas was not just a matter of shared interest. It was a deliberate effort to keep him captivated and devoted. In her words, "I created mine to fit the ones with his." Nick, for his part, introduced his own alter ego, Victor, whom he described as a 500-year-old vampire and assassin. Gypsy, always accommodating, embraced Victor's character as a way to validate and deepen their connection. She admitted, "I created characters to fit his, to keep him happy."
During the time you and Nick were together, did you ever engage in fantasies or role-playing or anything like that?
Yes.
Did you have names?
Yes.
Tell us about the names you utilized.
Ruby, Candy, Kitty, Bella, Simona.
Why did you have different alter egos?
I made them up because he told me that he had various alter egos. And so I created mine to fit the ones with his.
And who came up with your names?
I did.
And do they each represent a different type of person?
Yes.
This manipulation was subtle but effective, feeding into Nick's fragile sense of self-worth and his need for someone to accept him fully, eccentricities and all. The role-playing went beyond creating characters. It seeped into the dynamics of their relationship. Gypsy testified that they adopted a master-slave dynamic, where Nick was the master and Gypsy as the slave. This arrangement gave Nick the illusion of control, but in reality, it was Gypsy pulling the strings. When asked about the dynamic, Gypsy admitted, "He told me to do things, and I would do them to make him happy." Nick's belief in the master-slave relationship created a false sense of empowerment for him, masking the deeper manipulation at play. Gypsy's compliance reinforced his belief that he was in control, when in truth, she used his fantasies to steer him toward the ultimate goal. Central to Gypsy's manipulation were the lies she fed Nick about her mother and her own suffering. While there was substantial evidence that Didi Blanchard abused Gypsy, the way Gypsy presented her situation to Nick amplified victimhood and erased any alternative solution. In his interviews, Nick recalled how Gypsy described her mother chaining her to the bed, beating her and emotionally torturing her. "She told me she couldn't escape. She said the only way was if her mother was gone," Nick said, reflecting on the countless conversations they had. Gypsy also fabricated or exaggerated other aspects of her life. She claimed to Nick that she had numerous illnesses, muscular dystrophy, leukemia, seizures, and that her mother forced her into a wheelchair and made her take unnecessary medication. While many of these claims were rooted in truth, Gypsy manipulated the narrative to present herself as a completely helpless victim, ensuring Nick felt a moral obligation to protect her. Gypsy's lies culminated in her convincing Nick that murdering Didi was the only visible solution. Her ability to blend fantasy with reality played a critical role in this. She tapped into Nick's alter ego, Victor, framing him as a savior who could rescue her from her torment. Nick himself admitted during an interview, "She told me I was the only one who could save her. She said Victor could do what no one else could do."
To this day, it boggles my mind. But because of that master of manipulation that she is able to do, she had no problems manipulating me into the situation. I wish I would have known it was more manipulation than love, because if I would have known that, I probably wouldn't have been in the situation I'm in.
Gypsy did not stop at emotional manipulation. She actively participated in planning the murder. She decided the weapon, a knife, and even stole it from Walmart. Nick later revealed that Gypsy sent him a photo of the knife to ensure it met his approval. "She picked it out, sent me a picture to see if I liked it," Nick said. This was not the act of a passive participant, but rather a calculated move by someone orchestrating the event. Gypsy also controlled the logistics of the murder. She instructed Nick on what to wear. He would later testify that she told him to bring gloves to avoid leaving fingerprints, and devised a code to signal when it was safe for him to attack her mother. She told me to knock 3 times and scratch twice on the bathroom door to let her know it was over, Nick stated during the testimony. Even after the murder, Gypsy maintained her performative persona. She and Nick created a pre-planned story to tell the law enforcement if they were caught. Another example of their role-playing dynamic bleeding into reality. Gypsy's ability to think several steps ahead and manipulate the narrative ensured that even after Didi's death, she remained in control. When asked why he went along with the plan, Nick's response was heartbreakingly simple. "I loved her. I would have done anything for her." This tragic admission underscores the depth of Gypsy's manipulation and the extent to which she exploited Nick's vulnerabilities. One of the most striking moments in the case of Gypsy Rose Blanchard was her testimony during the trial of Nicolas Godejohn. In the courtroom, Gypsy laid bare the intricate web of manipulation, lies, and planning that led to her mother's murder. Her testimony painted a picture of a young woman desperate to escape her circumstances, but it also exposed her as the calculating figure who played a pivotal role in orchestrating the crime. During her testimony, Gypsy admitted without hesitation the idea to kill her mother was hers.
At some point, you decided to kill your mother, is that correct?
Yes.
When was that?
Thoughts of it started a year prior to the murder actually happening.
Whose idea was it to kill your mother?
Mine.
Why did you want to kill your mother?
Because I wanted to be free of her hold on me.
Did you and Nick ever talk about this?
Yes,
Who initially brought up killing your mother?
I did.
The thought of it started a year prior to the murder actually happening, she said. This chilling admission revealed that the act was not a spur-of-the-moment decision, but a long-considered plan. When asked directly who initiated the conversation about killing her mother, she stated unequivocally, "I did." This confession shattered any illusions that Gypsy was merely a passive participant in the events that unfolded. While she presented herself as a victim of her mother's abuse, this testimony showed that she had taken an active role in devising a solution that involved murder, rather than seeking help or other alternatives. Gypsy elaborated on the different strategies she had considered before restoring to murder, each showcasing her calculated approach to escaping her mother's control. She spoke of Plan A, which involved introducing Nick to her mother in hopes that she could gain her approval. This plan had failed spectacularly during their first and only in-person meeting at the movie theater in March 2015. Gypsy admitted, "It didn't go well at all. My mother hated him from the moment they met." When Plan A failed, Gypsy considered Plan C, a scheme to get pregnant by Nick, believing that a child would force her mother to allow the relationship.
Mother at some point.
Yes, sir.
Was that the only plan you ever had in terms of how to get out of your situation?
Besides running away, that is the only thing, yes.
Did you have other alternative plans other than killing your mother?
Yes,
How many plans altogether did you have?
3.
Okay. Did you have names for those plans?
Yes.
What were the names?
Plan A, Plan B, and Plan C.
And could you tell us about the other 2 possibilities other than killing your mother?
Yes. Plan A, we already had tried that, which was to meet up at the movie theater, act like we never met before, and try and start a relationship from there, with my mother's permission.
What was the other alternative plan?
Another one was for me to get pregnant. I believed that since he would be the father, he would have to be in my life.
Now,
However, this idea was abandoned because, as Gypsy testified, his mother wouldn't allow it. Finally, Gypsy resorted to Plan B, murder. The cold precision of labeling the murder as a plan, rather than an act of desperation, further underscored her level of involvement. She admitted, "I talked him into it," referring to her manipulation of Nick into carrying out the act. Gypsy's testimony also revealed the extent to which she controlled the planning and execution of the murder. She admitted to stealing the knife used in the killing from Walmart. "I supplied the knife," she confessed, explaining that she picked it out herself and sent a photo to Nick for his approval. This was not the behavior of someone being coerced. Rather, it showed someone meticulously ensuring every detail was in place. Gypsy also devised a code to signal Nick when it was safe to carry out the murder. She explained it was 3 knocks and 2 scratches on the bathroom door. This code was a stark reminder of how deeply involved Gypsy was in orchestrating the sequence events. Furthermore, Gypsy ensured that the murder weapon and any evidence were taken care of after the act. She testified that she and Nick mailed the knife back to his house in Wisconsin to avoid being caught with it. People mail knives all the time. They buy them online, Gypsy said, brushing off the calculated nature of the act as if it were routine. Throughout her testimony, Gypsy also spoke about her relationship with Nick, often portraying him as a tool she used to achieve her goals. She admitted that she played into his fantasies and used his love for her as a leverage. She described how she tailored her alter egos to match his, creating a fantasy world where he felt validated and needed. Gypsy's confession further revealed how she preyed on Nick's mental state and naivety. She testified about her knowledge of his Asperger's syndrome and how she used it to her advantage. "I knew he would do anything for me," she admitted. This statement laid bare the depth of her manipulation, showing that she was fully aware of Nick's vulnerabilities and exploited them to achieve her own ends. While Gypsy's testimony was marked by a calm demeanor, there were moments where her emotions surfaced, revealing the complexity of her character. She admitted that her feelings toward her mother were conflicted, saying, "At first, I was very angry after my arrest, but over time, I realized she suffered from mental illness." This admission appeared to humanize her mother while simultaneously justifying her actions. However, her attempts to express remorse were undercut by the cold, calculated nature of her planning and execution. For example, she admitted that on the anniversary of the murder, she played one of her mother's favorite songs and cried. But this gesture felt hollow when juxtaposed with the premeditated nature of the crime. Gypsy's testimony painted Nick as both a willing participant and a pawn. She described how she manipulated him into believing that killing her mother was not only necessary but also an act of love. "He asked me, 'Are we still doing this?' And I said yes," Gypsy testified, recounting how she gave him the final head go. Gypsy's ability to detach herself from the act while orchestrating it highlighted her manipulative tendencies. Gypsy also detailed the aftermath of the murder, including her decision to make a Facebook post on her mother's account to alert authorities. The post read, "That bitch is dead," followed by a graphic reference to sexual violence. When asked why she wrote the post, Gypsy admitted, "I wanted the police to find her body." Her casual approach to the aftermath, including her efforts to clean up the male evidence, further painted a picture of someone who was not overcome with guilt but rather focused on covering her track. Gypsy Rose Blanchard's courtroom confession was a pivotal moment that revealed her as much more than just a victim of her mother's abuse. While she did endure significant hardship under Diddy's control, her testimony showed that she was also a manipulative and calculating individual who played a central role in orchestrating her mother's murder. By her own admission, she devised the plan, manipulated Nicholas into carrying it out, and took active steps to ensure its execution. The courtroom confession was not only a key piece of evidence against Nicolas Gaudijon, but also a window into Gypsy's complex and contradictory character, a young woman who was both victim and villain, weaving a narrative that continues to captivate and divide public opinion. So what do we do with this information? Gypsy Rose wants you to buy her book, to believe her version of events. But before you do, ask yourself this: whose story is she really telling? Nicolas Gaudijon's life is the cost of Gypsy's freedom. And while she's out here selling a narrative, he's paying the price for her manipulation. It's time we stop seeing Gypsy Rose as a victim and start holding her accountable for her choices she made. Because this isn't just her story. It's Nicolas's story too. And he deserves to be heard.